rescinded his nomination.
Really?
Yes.
How did that?
I don't know how their politics work, but it's not going down well with the candidate.
I can only imagine. Do we know who the candidate was?
Yeah, it was Barry Wiesletter. Now, Barry Wiesletter is the head of the Socialist Caucus of the NDP.
Okay.
So, as far to the left as you can get in the NDP, that's where he was.
There you go.
Where he is. So maybe that concerns them. I don't know. And
And that's going to play
known Barry for a while.
Like that was.
It's not going to play in Thornhill, but
I was going to say that's.
he beat Simon Strelchek, who was the perennial candidate here. You know.
Yeah, well, Simon runs federally at
Yeah.
least every time he gets the chance. I know Simon. Interesting. So do we know what happens now, or we have no idea? I was going to call.
Stay tuned.
I was going to call them and see, because last I had checked, maybe a couple days ago, there wasn't anyone officially.
Right.
And so I was just thinking, you know,
There was for 48 hours.
Really?
Now there isn't again.
But now he's vowed to fight it, though, so we'll see what happens.
Interesting. I will have to give them a call and see what's going on.
Right.
All right, so interesting that you're here. I mean, clearly, most people know you from your old gig. You were what, 27 years?
27 years.
There we go. So why, and a successful career, I think it's fair to say, why make a switch?
Well, it was the right time for me, but more importantly, you know, I think I have a record as an advocate, a good record as an advocate. And I wanted to work for a community that I basically, you know, spent 27 years, not 27, almost 25 years in. You know, I live here. I know the community. My family grew up here, and I wanted to work both for my family and for other families here in Thornhill on issues that we all feel very passionately about, from health to transportation, and education, you know, all of it, the environment, security. I live here, and it was a good time to really start expanding my boundaries and being able to work for my community, my entire community.
Why the Liberals?
Well, the Liberals really encompass all that I believe in. The vast majority of my working life, even before Canadian Jewish Congress, I actually had a life before Canadian Jewish Congress.
There's life before Canadian Jewish Congress?
I know, but I spent 10 years as a social worker in Ottawa. I worked with the Children's Aid Society as a protection worker, with the Youth Services Bureau, working with young people just close to, you know, going to reformatory. I worked as a social worker and family social worker for the Jewish Community Center in Ottawa. So I've had, you know, lots of experience in terms of dealing with issues of social justice, civil rights, human rights. That's been what I've been about. And so the party, the Liberal Party, really exemplifies all of that. And I mean, how could I have run for a party with a leader who, you know, actually mused about whether or not he should get rid of the Ontario Human Rights Commission? You know, for me, human rights commissions are sacrosanct, and they have done incredible jobs in terms of protecting minorities. So the Liberal Party here in Ontario meshed pretty well with everything that, you know, that I'm about, and the themes of my life, and that's the reason I did that on one level. On another level, our family. I come from a family where the Liberal Party meant a lot. My late father, Max, was a Holocaust survivor, and after the war he was in a DP camp, couldn't get anywhere. He was stateless. The first country to open their doors to him was Canada. And Louis Saint Laurent was the Prime Minister at the time, and Louis Saint Laurent was a Liberal. And so my father, you know, just embraced Liberals and Liberal Party, and that's what it's been all about.
Now, you talked about, you sort of referenced, and there was almost a bit of a nod and wink to my whole community. Mm-hmm. What does the name Bernie Farber mean outside the Jewish community?
Oh, well, I would hope it means a person who stands up for, you know, for everybody's dignity. I have great friends and contacts in virtually every faith, ethnic, and you know, racial community, not just in Thornhill, but probably across Ontario and across the country. But you know, have been very close to the Chinese Canadian community, the Korean community, Italian community, the African Canadian community. My Canadian Jewish Congress was in many ways this exemplar, if you will, of a Jewish organization that already spread its wings in terms of encompassing all minorities. And I think my reputation on those kinds of levels speaks very loudly and very clearly to celebrating everyone's differences as opposed to trying to be divisive.
So how do you plan on translating that name? And you said it's within different communities, but translating to a much broader sense.
Well, there's only one way to do that, and that is to talk to people. And I tell this story, and I'm sure Dan here is sick of hearing it. But just prior to running, I was on a trip with my wife, just to decompress before we really got into the pre-campaign. And I met this politician from the United States. He was a state senator on this trip, and we were talking, of course, politics. What else are you going to talk about? And he said to me, there was a lesson I learned from him that I have not forgotten since I've started this campaign, and that is that in order to get people to know you, you have to get in their face. You have to knock on doors. You have to shake hands, and you have to talk to people. And I started doing that in early June, and I haven't stopped since. And we have covered 4 pairs of shoes, almost 9 pounds in doing it, and I've loved every minute of it, and I've met people from every walk of life. This is the most diverse community, I believe, maybe in Canada, but certainly in Ontario. You just have to go up and down Yonge Street, start at Steeles and go north, even just to Highway 7, and you will, in that interim, pass Indo-Canadian, Iranian, Jewish, Italian. It's fantastic, and it's lovely. And even though I have been exposed to all of this in the past, I learn something new every day, and it's been as much a learning experience for me as well.
It's funny because it plays so far against type. You think of Thornhill as 1 or 2 predominant communities. And
well,
that's not the case.
There is some truth numerically. There, if you want to break it down to percentages, yes, there's a large Jewish community here. That's my community. I understand that community. But there's a large Indo-Canadian community. There's a significant Persian or Iranian community. There's a significant Muslim community. I've been to the Sanatan Mandir, for example. I've been to the Buddhist temple up on Bayview, which I've never been to before. I must have passed it, I don't know, 100 times, and drove in to meet with the abbot there, and spent 2 hours there, and it was unbelievable. And anybody who's listening, they have an open door policy. Go and see what your community is all about. It's fantastic. Been to the United Church, unbelievable. I've been to Muslim temples. I've now got this opportunity to see kind of the microcosm that is the macrocosm of Canada, right here in Thornhill.
So, and you talked a little bit about it, but I'll let you answer the question. So we can watch the ads, we can read the policy, and find out why Dalton McGuinty, why Bernie Farber.
Well, Bernie Farber is first and foremost an advocate for people. I hope that my reputation has been that I stand up. My late father used to have an expression. He said, if you want to get something done, you've got to open a mouth. And I think that people who know me know that I'm not afraid to open a mouth, that I advocate on behalf of people, I advocate on behalf of communities. I get things done. And I want to be able to work with the ratepayers. I want to be able to work with community organizations. I want to be able to work with ethnic organizations and take a look at the issues that are confronting them, because you know what? I live here. This is my community. I kind of get it. I honestly believe that you have to really be part of the community in order to represent that community, and that's what I want to do.
If I can be straightforward, clearly we talked about the Jewish community. It's hard not to reference it. You have a very strong background with it, as does your opponent. How do we stop this from being, or how are you going to stop this from becoming a one-issue, one-community campaign?
I have to tell you something. I've been to thousands of doors in the last 3 months. And whether it's in the Jewish community or the Iranian community or the Italian community, there are a myriad of issues that these communities are all clamoring to deal with. It's there isn't just one issue. And it doesn't matter what community you're in. It's just not one issue. And I'm hearing this at Jewish doors, or Jewish Canadian doors, and Iranian Canadian doors. They want to ensure that there's a strong healthcare system. They would like to ensure that we are connected to the GTA, that we actually have a subway that might finally end up, coming up to Steeles Avenue, so that we don't have to go to Finch to go downtown. They want clean air to breathe. They want security of their homes. Those are the issues that I'm hearing at the door for the most part. And so I don't see this as a one-issue election, not at all, because if it is, I'm not hearing it.
Fair enough. We'll finish light. Tell us something about Bernie Farber that we're not going to find in any campaign material.
Well, I love to fish, and I haven't fished in a long, long time because I've been too busy, but I still enjoy it. I have 3 wonderful children, which you'll see in the campaign material, but you won't know a lot about them. My eldest daughter, Jillian, who's 24, is in South Korea. She's been there for 2 years teaching English, and she's a writer, and she's a wonderful writer. And I tell people the story, when I traveled Europe when I was her age, actually probably younger than her, if I got to call home once a month, it was a big deal because you had to actually go to a post office and reserve a telephone call. Now we probably Skype with Jillian and see her more than when she was at home. So it's lovely, and she's a wonderful young woman, and she's doing great work in South Korea. And actually, many of the Korean Canadians that I speak to are really interested in the work that she's doing there. So it's also kind of a bump for me, which is sort of neat. My middle son Zachary. By the way, all my kids went to high school here, graduated from high school here. He was at Thornhill Collegiate. Jillian was at Thornhill Collegiate. He just graduated from Guelph University. He's going now into audio, music mixing. I mean, I'm not exactly quite sure what it is, but he's a musician himself, and he's a wonderfully talented guy. And my youngest son, Max, just graduated from Westmount. He's a character of our family, and he is going into comedy writing and performance at Humber. So that's who I am, and I have my wife who is my rock, really the person who keeps me anchored. She's been involved in cancer funding here in New York Hill in terms of going door to door every year for the cancer drive, involved in Parents Council. She's also a social worker who's been working with developmentally handicapped kids for almost 30 years. This is who we're all about, and we're all part of the campaign, in one way or another. But my kids have come campaigning with me. Karen is here every day. That's what you're not going to see in the brochures. And family, community, it's all part of what I want to sort of drive home.
Perfect. We'll stop it there.
Great.
So thanks very much.
You're very good.
Well, thank you.
You're easy to talk to. It's nice. I've talked to a lot of reporters in my day.
I figure,